Sympathy, a TwiLuna story by Giant Netfield. Chapter 1. 3 weeks. Celestia Build. It seemed like such a long time to Twilight Sparkle. 3 weeks of only being able to talk to her friends through short letters that she managed to send despite the variation of the same spell that Celestia used for the friendship reports. Necessity had forced Twilight to learn the flame scope spell, because the very first letter she had sent to Rarity had been stolen from the mailbox by one of Canterlot mailers, and sold for a small fortune to the magazines in Canterlot. Unfortunately, she had gone through six. Unfortunately, she had gone through 6 files of Dragonfire sending and receiving mail from her friends, and the scarcity of the stuff had stopped her from sending more letters, especially with her current predicament, meaning she was unable to leave the castle to quietly buy more. Princess of Friendship, I'm sure her abilities was one of the least embarrassing headlines that came out of that nightmare. It still confused and angered Twilight that a dozen different magazines come up with a dozen different stories, all from a single letter. She knew the media was scandal hungry to sell their newspapers and magazines, but she had always expected the articles to have some sort of journalistic method to them. What had happened to her was just out and out lying crowds in journalistic rights that the war lawyers would would cost a fortune to fight for the truth, will only result in a slap on the wrist fine for the lying base incompetent journalists. For the lying back incompetent journalists. Only that everything was going well for her now. Not that everything was going well for her now, anyways. Princess Celestia had barely any time to talk to Twilight, since the Griffin tribes had immediately demanded to know what the presence of a fourth alicorn meant for the already unstable treaty between Equestria and their own country, the United States of Griffonia, only beginning military exercises on the borders between the two nations before Celestia had flexed her princess muscles and called down a forward flare on the mountain next to the capital, where the Griffin army got a touch too close to the border itself. And then the princess had to go to the Elfrey Forest personally to handle the rather surly brood of a hydra that Twilight had met over a year ago, an especially hungry and surly brood that had been attacking ponies along the main river streams that lead out of the Elfrey Forest, leaving Twilight alone but for Princess Luna and an army of smiling, faceless servant ponies. Luna, Twilight sighed despondently, then started running complex magical formula through her mind, trying to think of anything but that morning. The clank incident, the moment when Luna had orders, the moment when Luna had ordered Twilight to stay in her quarters and study up on the cultural quirks of nobility. It was almost like being under house arrest. She wasn't allowed to go anywhere near the throne room or Luna's quarters, and she was forbidden to speak about the incident to anyone. Twilight remembered the moment when everything had gone horribly wrong all too well. It was the 15th day after Princess Celestia and the White Stripes Regiment of the Royal Guard had left to drive back the swarms of baby hydras slithering out of the free forest just before the sun was due to rise. Luna and Twilight, already tired from an overlong shift involving most of the day before all the night covering for the missing princess. Two had settled down in Luna's room so the Princess of Night could explain the basics of dream walking when the inevitable happened. Inevitable happened. Sorry to happen. Without the constant yammering of the nobility or the constant glaring presence of the guard ponies seated on a thick, warm rug with a fire blazing nearby and no sleep for almost a full day, both of them started to nod off with the horns still charged with magic. Still charged with magic. Still charged with magic. She had been half asleep at the time, thinking, "No, must stay awake. Luna will be disappointed if I fall asleep." As her head started to tilt forwards, and she felt something clank against the very tip of her horn, and then everything went out of control. Twilight could feel every hair on her body, from the long strands of her tail to the short, soft veils on her face, stand on end as a strange magic shot through her body from the horn and back again. And the source of the strange magic had been Luna herself, the contact of the tips of their horns and the magic contained within the Luna Princess's horn, surging into Twilight. And from the look on Luna's face, she was also being charged with Twilight's own newly augmented magic. There was two facts about the clank incident, as Twilight had come to call the moment when the warm and often adorable friendship between her and Luna had shattered like so much fine porcelain. Two facts that made no sense to the new Alicorn. First was not only did the sudden influx of the other's magic did not cause pain, as the sudden invasion of a frozen energy wave should have been, rather it seemed to revolutionize seemed to revitalize her, like not even the crippled quadruple strength espresso shots seeing Luna had been chugging all day had been able to do. The second was that Twilight could also feel the strange surge traveling through Luna's body as well. It was like seeing a mirror image, but she was seeing it with every fiber of her body and Luna's body. It had only gone on for a few seconds at the most, both males sitting there, muzzles locked, mouths open, silent o's of surprise before Luna shook her head back, blinking furiously before giving a startled meek that would made Firefly proud and scooted away, holding a hoof to her mouth in shock. Looking back, Twilight realized now that leaping after Luna, firing off a barrage of questions without pausing for breath, and not giving Luna any personal space after an event that made the Luna Princess shy away was probably one of the most boneheaded mistakes to date. And of course, she just had to mention what happened to their horns. Twilight could still see Luna's pupils shrinking to pinpricks as the older Alicorn looked up at the horns and gasped. Twilight's horn has a small speck of Luna's midnight blue coloration on the very tip, and in turn, Luna had a tiny top of purple on hers. Then Luna had absolutely no compunctions about laying her hooves on Twilight, shoving the newest princess into Luna's own private bathroom, insisting that Twilight not leave until she covered up the spark mark with a stainless coating of makeup, then had unceremoniously pushed Twilight out of her chambers, insisted that Mrs. Sparkle be escorted to her chambers immediately, and that court for the next day was cancelled. It had been 5 days now, and while Luna had supposedly rejoined the court, Twilight was still confined to her quarters until Princess Celestia came back. Was it something I said? Was there some sort of royal protocol I broke? Did Luna think I was attacking her? Twilight groaned as she paced a circle of her room for the 1300th time. Yes, she was keeping count. She also had banged her head against the wall 68 times, trying to rattle her brain into coming up with a working plan to patch up their friendship, and attempted to send a letter of apology to Luna, no less than 87 times before the guards told her in no uncertain terms that Luna was sending the letters into a pocket dimension as soon as they appeared. And by now, Twilight had gone through a dozen crates of chalk and 2 chalkboards, trying to make a chart of possible causes for the mutual surges of magical energy through each other's horns. All she could do was wait until Celestia's return, which will be early tomorrow morning, and try not to have another panic attacks, which meant Twilight had to distract herself as much as possible. Until then, all Twilight could do was keep going through these old scrolls from the history wing at the library, and to see if any of these ancient treaties on the royal equestrian protocols will give us an insight into what she done to offend Luna so badly. Luna struggled to maintain a calm and regal expression as she deliberated on the matter before her. 2 of the lesser noble families of Canterlot had been feuding constantly for the past 7 years about ownership of a small property on the outskirts of Canterlot's market district, and now the matter was to be dealt by the royal court after being passed through every other level of meditation available. Their conflict had at least offered a distraction from the confusion that Luna had to endure stoically over the past few days. Sparkling the Twilight Sparkle of all ponies, her very first friend in this new Bohemian era, her sister's beloved student to boot. They had done something so embarrassing. Luna was both looking forward and dreading in equal measures Tia's return to Canterlot. Hopefully Celestia, or Tia to Luna, will be able to resolve the issue delicately. Right now, Luna could scarcely bear to be in the same room as Twilight. Her embarrassment was so great, and Twilight was so innocent. She had no idea what had occurred between them that night. How could Luna tell Twilight what had happened without ruining their friendship? So all Luna felt she could do was to put on a brave face and hold down the fort until her elder and hopefully wiser sister returned. Unfortunately, that meant dealing with the aggravating duties such as the court case before her. The Golden Hooves and the Amber Swirls have been through every other level of equestrian legal systems, fighting their battles in bitterly contested court battles, leveling accusations, claim and counterclaim at each other every step of the way, most which was superfluous at best and right down scandalous at worst, with whispers of sabotage, scandal, and vandalism that has sapped the once great wealth of both families. Mediation was a waste of time, as soon the core members of both families were in the same room while a sizable number of Templar guards nearby. It descended into a gigantic slanging match or display during the latest incident, costing several thousand of bits and repairs to nearby businesses when the two families bumped into each other in the street, and the collateral damage from the magic duels had shattered windows, terrified customers and staff, and having set the interiors of several shops on fire. So, Your Majesty, it is without a doubt my family shall be compensated for our time and so, Your Majesty, it is without a doubt my family shall be compensated for our time and slanderous, confining, tongue-born upstart. My family has owned that shop for generations, while yours was in order in the court, the sentinel shouted. It was promptly ignored by the two families, who abandoned any pretense of nobility and jumped to their hooves, hurling insults and cups of coffee or water at each other. Note to self: ponies are only to be given disposable plastic cups and cork. Luna thought to herself, desperately researching the urge to burst out into laughter as the two particularly infuriated unicorns threw their cups at each other at the same exact time and gave the other matching black eyes. Want to know what hard work was if it came up and bucked in the order? The sentinel screamed out, turning a shade of purple that would make a opponent proud. Your thugs attacked my cousin, you black-hearted, and your mother needs to grow eyes in the back of her head so she can finally decide see, and the court itself had heard enough, and more importantly, she was worried about the long-suffering sentinel, who was about to have a race-induced commentary on the spot. So slammed her hoof down on the pedestal, and then again with far more force when the two families ignored her. Red-faced and spraying, pointing hooves and glowing horns accusingly at each other. Oh, for the love of still thy tongues! Luna roared in frustration, slipping back into the royal canterlot voice, nearly deafening the poor guards in front of her, immediately silencing the two bickering families in the murmuring crowd. Enough! 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 I think the entire court has heard enough of your antics to realize that between the lot of you, not one single pony among either the Golden Hooves or the Amber Swirls possess the maturity or grace to settle this matter peacefully. But Your Majesty, they have no right to our silence. I had spent the better part of last night going over this case, and had consulted with the Royal Archivist on the matter as well. Since neither party can prove one way or the other whose the original orders deeded the shop too, as will you display today, in addition to the dozens of fine altercations between your families and the employees in public. It had been made abundantly clear that if one side received ownership of the property in dispute, the other side would stop at nothing to ruin them. Luna snapped, pounding the pedestal again until order was restored, as the amber swirls and golden hoops all leaped up to proclaim their rights and innocence. In which case, as a member of the royal family, in accordance with Article 26, paragraph 35 of the disputed property bylaws, in case where neither party is capable of proving undeniable proof of ownership, the property shall default to the crown. In the deathly silence of the court, Luna rose from her throne and fixed her best nightmare moon's glare on the two feuding noble families, all of whom were staring back at her, doing their best impersonations of stunned goldfish, thus doing their best impressions of stunned goldfish. Thus, the property shall default to the crown. My sister and I will find suitable tenants to uh, occupy the building, and they will not be harassed. Am I clear? In addition, I am fining both the Golden Hooves and the Amateur's families a sum of 10,000 bits for each for tarnishing the dignity of the nobility and disputing. The total sum which shall be disputed to the opponents who have been caught up in your fighting as compensation for damages and lost business. Furthermore, I am placing restraining orders on the family members and staff of both families, preventing either side from going 100 feet of the property, and the opponents who will inhabit it or the properties and owners of the business you have damaged with your feuding. You could have heard a pin drop in the silence as the golden hooves and amber swirls stared at her, mouths working silent rays of horror. Then the rest of the court started to mutter, and Luna felt her heart sink as she wondered if perhaps she had let her heart lead and rather her head. Then the assorted nobles in common points and Canterlot started clapping and cheering for Luna, as the white faces of the two noble families turned pink with embarrassment or purple with rage. The princess will hear this outrage! Old Unicorn from the Golden Hooves family shouted angrily at the royal guard. As the royal guard moved in and ushered the two noble families through separate doors. Our princess has armored the golden hooves, Prince Luna replied back loudly and tartly, which set the court into more laughter. A cheap shot, possibly one beneath her station, but damn it felt good to finally get one over these scheming, backstabbing nobles that Tia had let infest Equestria. Recorder, I want a full copy of this session ready for my sister when she returns. Luna whispered to the pony in charge of keeping written records of each court case, who was frantically pounding away at her typewriter, barely nodded before reaching for her first batch of paper to obey the command. The last thing my sister needs is to have the nobles trying to rile her up. I am certain she had quite enough excitement for a while with dealing with the Hydra spawn. Your Highness, we have 3 more cases to deal with before the court ends for the day, one of the day guards muttered softly, his eyes not leaving the crowd. Do you wish to suspend court for 10 minutes so you may have a moment to yourself, or you wish to continue? Luna paused and looked out at the crowds of pony, all whispering and talking and looking at her. Yes, 10 months alone sounding perfectly defined now, right now. Please apologize to the ponies. I'll need a few minutes to clear my mind and be impartial for the next cases. Luna replied in an equally soft voice. Having to wait in the lengthy scuffle, having, having to wait in the lengthy shuffle as court was dismissed for 10 minutes, and every pony tried to leave at the doors leave tried to leave and every pony tried to leave at once, resulting in a bottleneck at every entrance. Dawn, Ray, Dawn, Ray, Dawn, Dawn, Ray. Do we have any of Pony Joe's triple gaze masterpieces left? Luna whispered to, as the day guard's commander, as the day's commander of the Royal Guard escorted her from the chamber. I had a sudden craving for something sweet, all after after all the sour grapes we just had to endure. When the corners when the corner of the mouth guards quirked upwards in her smoke for a split second, Luna blamed it on a waking dream due to her lack of sleep over the past 2 weeks. Yes, Your Highness. 8 boxes worth, in fact. They Don 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 Ray muttered as they passed through a hidden door at the back of the throne room behind a thick, dark red velvet drape, with a dozen guard ponies sitting around, holding cups of coffee and rummaging through the boxes. Or we had some donuts. Your Highness, out of attention! Some of the guards, as they tried to stand attention, while still holding their cups of coffee in their hooves, and hanging in with donuts hanging out of their mouths, almost burning themselves in the process. And one poor stallion seemed and one poor stallion seemed to be choking on his meal. Please, no, there's no need, Luna tried to say, as much control as she could, but she couldn't help but chuckle as one guard leaned over and slapped his choking comrade on the back that the remaining donut in his mouth shot forwards and stuck to the breastplate of another guard. Yet, despite all this, soon the guards had assumed their positions. They were stone-faced except for the very faintest pink correlations to their faces, and dusting a powdered sugar and sprinkles on their mouths. Yes. Yes. As we as we my apologies. Apologize. As I was saying, there's no yes. As we yes uh as we my apologies. As I was saying, there is no need for formality, gentlemen. Luna started again, desperately trying to keep a straight face and not laugh at the poor ponies. I merely came here for some of Pony Joe's famous donuts. Now shall depart. Yes, Your Majesty, the guards barked as one, marching in lockstep away from the boxes. It was all Luna not could do not to roll her eyes and face Hoof. I understand their training requires them to be stoic and unwavering, but would it be so truly such a burden to simply say yes like a normal pony every now and then again? Luna thought to herself as she walked over to the boxes, frowning as she saw that almost every one of the donut boxes were empty, but for Crumbs. Each one of the donut deluxe boxes contained 2 dozen of his finest donuts, yet somehow 12 stallions had finished over 150 donuts. Yet somehow 12 stallions have finished off over 150 donuts. I wonder if Luna would let me insist on diets for them in an additional lap around Canterlot for a week. Those was my donuts. Those was my donuts. Luna thought to herself, thought, half jealous, half envious, as she lifted lids of each box, glaring at the empty spaces therein. If she ate that many donuts in one sitting, alcohol metabolism or or not, she'll go as round as a beach ball in the space of a day. Yet the guards didn't look bloated at all. Damn them. On the final and seventh box, she found a solitary donut waiting at the bottom of the box, and felt a momentary surge of panic as she took a look closer at it. The sun-beat down donut had the exact coloration at her source of her affection, Twilight Sparkle. The first layer of glazing had the same lavender purple coloration, while the second layer glazing had a much darker shade of purple reminiscent of Twilight's mane, and with pink sprinkles running across the surface of the donut in an amazing accurate attempt to replicate the new Corn Princess hairstyle on one side of the donut and her cue mark on the other. There's is there truly no way to escape this is there truly no way to escape this entanglement? Luna thought to herself crossly, in, even as her magic gripped the delicious pastry. Levitating the donut out of the box, Luna flipped the lid over and sighed. Main 6 donut special, the box complaint proclaimed loudly, featuring 6 donuts, all bearing the same coloration of the 6 elements of harmony in aesthetic poses. Taste the elements of harmonious flavor. Oh, whatever. Luna was hungry, and quite frankly, she needed the sugar to be able to function during the next few cases at the level her subjects deserved. Sleep was a precious commodity at best of times, with Tia absent, and her workload now effectively doubled. And her workload now effectively doubled. Luna was relying on magical sleep spells to ensure that she slept deeply and untroubled by the dreams of her subjects. A grievous blow to her morale as things stood to begin with, and copious amounts of caffeine and sugar get through the day left her jittery all day long. Grape flavor? No. Maybe boysenberry? Luna wondered aloud as she ate with dainty bites, trying without much success to keep the mental image of her eating Twilight Sparkle out of her mind, blushing mother of that her dark color fur mostly masked any blushing she might be suffering from. Luna may have been on the moon for the past 1,000 years, but that didn't mean she was ignorant of what ponies got up to behind closed doors. She had been goddess of the night, the goddess of night. That included all things ponies did during the night, even if some of those things were emotionally confusing to Luna. Dreams were especially her forte, hence Luna being put forth as Twilight Sparkle mentor for dreamwalking. But still, to wander through the dreamscape these days tested her resolve in many ways. Points were very their expressions of love was much less confined than she thought they would have been, especially compared to the attitudes of her era. The taste of the grape on her tongue, and the coloration of the pastry in her hooves, brought Luna to blushing as she recalled several dreams that she'd been caught up in, struggling against the lust and screenscapes of several males who had, of all things, desired her as a bedmate. Her, her cheeks flushed harder as her rebellious mind conjure an image of Twilight sparkle, slender form, prone and vulnerable beneath Luna's own. Uh, Several males who have evolving desire her as a bedmate. Her fleets flush harder as her rebellious mind conjure an image of Twilight sparkle, her slender form prone and vulnerable underneath Luna's own. No, no, I am not a filly fooler. I am not that way. It's not right for a princess to be so, to behave so, right? Luna thought, beating the images down and managing the covering cases, which thankfully drowned out any arousal she might have felt. But the thoughts of how equestrian society had changed so drastically in 1,000 years of her banishment had settled over her like a mental shroud. Dear maids, for example, had very beautiful maid outfits, but the cut of the dress left very little to imagination, especially when one walked behind said maids. Celeste had flatly refused to discuss why the maids required such outfits to be in her service. And why do poets need to wear clothing in in the first place? Nora thought wildly as she finished off the last of the donut, realizing with a start that the guards were all staring at her. Yes, is there something on my face? Luna asked nervously, singing well at the silence. You're got a little bit of twilight on your lips still, Your Highness. One of the guards stuttered, and Luna brought a hoof to her lips. Twilight on your lips. The words echoed through Luna's mind, making her blink rapidly, quickly, wipe at her face with a foreleg. Ah, my thanks, guard. My thanks, guard. Luna smiled nervously at the guards, mind working frantically. Will not do to go before our subjects with great jam on my face. Just so, Your Highness, Don Ray remarked with a deadpan look. I must remain behind to have short talk with the men. Please return to your duties, Your Highness. I'll be along shortly. Fed with sizable amount of sweet pastry, now not a little bit self-conscious as the gaze of the guards now seemed to be fixed on her face. Luna nodded and moved as fast as she could while maintaining a regal bearing back to the court. Come home soon, dear sister. I am not meant for this sort of thing, Luna prayed as she returned to her throne, the court already refilling with points that she had now convinced knew of her internal conflicts, and perhaps a smudge of grape jam on her lips. Twilight on your lips. Oh, beside thy fatuous voice, Luna muttered as the sexton began reading out the names of the points whose case she will be overseeing next. Do you see the way she lapped up the jam? Jam? Try the way she was nimbly on that like that on the end of the donut. Thank the sun for the carved pieces. How old is she again? Well, kings can't marry. I guess the princesses can. Well, you know. Right. Don Ray snapped, glaring at his men, who suddenly remembered a veteran and senior officer were among them, snapping back into the parade stances, but this time with large beads of sweat that ran down their necks and faces. I hear one more word about any of the princesses, and that tone of conversation come out of your mouths, I'll personally buck you in the head so hard your grandfather's curing march will fall off. So the princess really liked jam-filled donuts, and her way of eating them is reminiscent of a certain act. Don Don Ray growled, fixing each of the guard with an angry look as he marched down the line. Need I remind you of your oaths to protect and serve, to honor and defend unto death and beyond? Such attitudes are hardly conducted to Princess Luna's honor, nor does it serve her to have the members of the guards look upon her like that. Princess Luna had been absent for Equestria for 1,000 years, and had been involved in countless meetings with private tutors for most of the part for the past 2 years to bring her up to speed on cultural and reformations and reformations in Equestria have gone have Equestria have gone under in her absence. She had barely she had barely left the castle in that time, but for ceremonial duties, and had almost no contact with her subjects but the staff and guards of the castle, guards of Canterlot Castle itself. Certainly had no contact with the sorts of males you all are envisioning. The Green Guard snapped at his tongue, went back down the line again, glaring hard guards at the guards. If you cannot keep your minds from taking up residence under your tails, turn your armor right here and now, and leave Canterlot with all due haste. Otherwise, the guard corps expect you to act like grown stallions. Otherwise, the guard corps expect you to act like grown stallions, not colts who just learned about the bird and the bees. We will not be having this discussion again.